Okay, so we'll tune right back in. Loss of resources, having to let go of resources, wasting resources involuntarily. That wasting is happening. Things are getting taken away. Things are getting destroyed, such as when you witness nature getting destroyed, or when something breaks. Things that you feel that you had to let go of, that you regret having let go of. And then especially this came up because there was a lot of, what you've noticed is that there was a lot of waste happening in your life, and you normally don't waste things, but because of it just happened that, oh, you didn't take care of this well enough, or you didn't think ahead, or even you overfilled, some kind of spillage that happened, or when something like your food burns or your food goes bad. Yeah, food goes bad, and things like that, and not even of your own fault. Things like that. So a lot of resources getting lost. For one, and then certain material things that you were attached to that got lost, that you had to let go of, that you don't have anymore, and that you're mourning over. So it's about mourning and regret of the loss of things, but also resources. And within resources, you can also say life force, prana, which is not a thing. It's a living energy. So also when trees get cut down, or nature gets destroyed, or grass gets cut too short from the gardener, and everything dries up, the whole ground and all the flowers, everything dries up, that's also a loss of life force. So this is happening around you, and you want to, now we're getting to the bottom of it. And we've said before, we started recording on another device, so we had to shift over. We said before that you are being, so the image that comes is that you are being like extracted out of an old time-space, out of your habituated time-space matrix. You're being pulled out of that. You're phasing out of that and phasing into not time-space matrix as the 15-dimensional, but within dimension. So into, not within the time-space matrix framework of 15 dimensions, but you're being pulled into another time-space paradigm. So that is another dimension, and that has a whole other feeling. It has a whole other, completely, it's not even an angle within the previous dimension. Everything is different. It's a completely different way of looking at things, and this is what we're now elaborating on. So go into the feeling which inspired you to now tune in and ask this question of what you've been noticing, of so much waste happening, that you've been wasting, that so many things you had to throw away, and it's just not like you. And so the loss of resources, and this comes to you from many angles, because you also have these recurring dreams, and this is a collective. You're not just carrying it in your own DNA, but you're also this is a shared theme in the collective. So that recurring dream of yours where you're under pressure because you need to make an appointment, you need to make a certain time, you need to catch a train. That's really what it is. You need to catch that train. There's no question why, or you have to catch that train. And at the same time, there is always this challenge of what to take, how much to take, how much you can only take what you can carry. So what to leave. There is this sorting, right? There's the sorting of this goes and this stays. And you have been through that in your life so many times because you had to move. You were moving so many times, and you were moving continents, you were moving different countries also within a continent. So there was always, and then there was the limited resources of, well, I can't take everything, because it would take a lot of resources to be able to ship, and to keep everything. You would have to always have a place and a way to transport and a place for them. So that wasn't there. So you always had to make this discernment of what to let go of and what to keep. And then there was always this regret of, I'm so sad about losing that or this or that, So that is also a part of this theme, a part of this. This is an emotional field. This is written in the DNA. Okay. Yes. And as you know, the DNA is upgrading, or better said, shifting, transforming from that denser, and also the way, it's not just the density, but it's not just the material of it, it's also the quality of it, of how it is woven, is shifting. So both is shifting, the material and the form, both is shifting. It's moving into crystalline form. Moving into becoming, and then moving into is like this phasing into the higher dimension, and it's aspects of you, particles of you, until it's a process. It doesn't happen from one moment to the other. It's a process of phasing in and out, in and out, in and out, every single atom of you that makes you up. And not just this physical body that makes you up. It's also all the subtle bodies. Same thing is happening. Yeah. And that is the pulling of you, including the physical body, into the next higher dimension, which is first coming from inverted 3D, going into organic 3D, and then the next dimension is the fourth dimension. So that's, even though there are already also parts of you already phasing in and out of fifth dimension, no question about it. And there, of course, going into now your higher self, you are already, of course, that's a whole other ballpark, you can say, is that your higher self, of course, is all the way up to 12D, all the way into the Christ, the Avatar, and then even the Rishi realms. And that you are connected to that. Perhaps you have not been completely always connected, especially in the 3D. You have not been connected into the 12D realms. This is what you are ascertaining in your work right now. And this is what is coming back online. And this is what is changing everything. So, but this is about your incarnate individual soul, self. Yes? That is the experience that you hold. That is this entity here, this being here. Okay, so now we come to, why is this happening? So for one, so there are many aspects to why and how this is happening. For one, you have the program in your DNA coming from the ancestral line. So this is within the physical body. It is a consciousness that is held within the physical body. And you know that it is the DNA that creates the field of experience and how you experience it. So coming from an ancestral line that has been through major wars, where everything has, or a lot, if not everything, has been lost, and where there was hunger and all of these things, resources were a matter of survival. And so it ingrained itself quite deeply into, well, all the way into the DNA, not to waste, not to waste food, for example. And that when food went bad because maybe we stored it not correctly, or we didn't eat it fast enough, or we weren't aware of what we needed to do in order to keep it longer, these kind of things, was a tragedy. So these are imprints. They are coming now to the surface because they don't fit anymore into where we are going. They do not fit anymore into where we are going. We are going into a completely new reality. A reality of abundance. Now here's the thing. Not only do they not fit into the new reality, but also, how does this shift occur? There are always the two sides. So on the one side, every time this happens, every time you come up against it and you have that experience, oh, these two nice nectarines I bought, especially organic, and I put them in the place where the oranges and the apples, they stay very long and they like it there, but these nectarines, they got bad. You had to throw them away, for example. And with many other things. The question is, when you experience that waste, for example, so any kind of loss of resources, on your own, something that, so is it your fault or is it not your fault? Is it something you could have kept from happening or not? So that's on two different levels, but it does have the same effect, and we will explain. So how do you react when this happens? Are you going to go, first of all, into regret? So you get that sinking feeling, it pulls you down. And second of all, if it was your own fault, even though you didn't want this to happen, you didn't do it on purpose, are you going to bring that also back to you? And that is then that feedback where you feel bad about yourself, where you feel bad about having done something, not having been good enough, having failed. Okay? So that's a self feeling. That's a feeling of self. As opposed to feeling bad that somebody else, or the city the city cut down a tree in your street, or that the gardener, who is not a gardener, he just comes to mow the lawn, that guy mowed the lawn way too short, so everything dried out. That then you feel bad for the plants, and you feel very bad. You're very sorry about trees getting cut down. All right, especially within the city, especially where there are not enough trees. Anyways, especially in your direct vicinity, where you can feel the direct effect of that loss of life force and shade and everything that a tree, home for birds, all of this. Yes. So it's a loss. So one loss is of your own accord, of your own conduct, and the other loss is of an outside conduct. Okay? So there's those two sides. One, you could have done something about it. Well, you could have done it differently, but you didn't. And the other, there's nothing you can do about it. Okay? But both feel like a loss of resources. Yes. So you're going to tune into that for a moment. How that feels. And it affects the heart, interestingly. There's a sinking feeling in the heart. Not so much with them. Yeah, it depends on what you're focusing on, what kind of loss. But with the tree, definitely it affects the heart. So there's that sinking feeling. And with the resources, be it money, be it food, the waste, being lost, something getting lost, an heirloom that you don't have anymore that you wish you still had. Yeah, so take that opportunity when that shows up, any kind of emotional reaction that shows up, when we remember it, when we think about, when we regret, when we feel bad about ourselves, if it was our conduct. Feel into that. Feel where it is in your body, and just be with it and hold the space. This is showing up now, and has been, of course, as as the image we gave before of you being pulled out of this matrix, pulled out of the denser dimension. Things get lost, things get wasted. The denser dimension seems to be getting like denser and denser. Things wasted. And also the denser dimension seems to have less and less life force. Yes, that is how it shows up. Yes. And the more time we spend in that habituated way, in the habituated consciousness, thinking in along those lines, acting along those lines, the more energy also we lose. Which means then when we feel depleted, when we feel like we have no chi, we're depleted of life force, we're depleted of fractality, but also we can't really find it, not in the food, not in the nature that you have available around you, living in the city where you live. It's like a little bit, yes, it helps you a little bit, but it doesn't really replenish you. It cannot replenish you because it is so depleted itself. Yes. So what is it that you have to turn to? The only place that can and will replenish you completely, that is always with you, that is this place, this stillness in your heart. That is this place where you are connected to your higher self. You can channel your higher self, comes in with its knowing, its wisdom. It is your own knowing and your own wisdom. You are tapping into it through the stillness of your heart, and you can only get there, of course, when the mind is also, when you are in that center column, when you drop back into the middle of yourself through the gap in the bicameral mind. You stand on that bridge, you center yourself in that meditation, being in between. That's what that means. This is where you are now. In this mindset and in this feeling, in this centeredness and the stillness, through the stillness of your heart. So when these words are being spoken, that stillness is held. It is not being compromised. It is coming out of the stillness, or from the sides around that stillness is where this what is being shared, what is coming out, is coming from. That is what we call channeling of the higher self. And this is what replenishes us. This is what refractalizes us from within. And then we become that fractalizing conductor. Why birds love to fly through our aura. For example. And you have the ability then to feel them, feel their little bodies. So wonderful. Because you have become, again, more tuned in, more fractalized. So that means you feel more, you have more feedback from your subtle bodies. And so when they fly through a subtle body of yours, you can feel it. And they feel it. And it's like caressing each other. So now getting back also to the loss. Every time that happens, it is a moment where you have the opportunity to notice if there is still a reaction to that loss of resources, including life force. Do you still have a reaction? And what I mean by that, what we mean by that is sometimes I doesn't fit. It's too, I have to open it up. So. Karnog moes na akteo to no stai, bak niet je evnar lukto o. Javra ma niet in arnok moor nak meet na dok moor ni ak noor Debra amkta ardu usta anania torbok naia tak de evi arnok moor nak nai I want you to see my hands too. So I'm gonna go a little bit. Can you see? Yeah, a little bit further. Yeah, at least you can see a little bit more of my hands. And we're gonna move it down a tad as well. Yeah, good. Deur rukta shnari. Mikna arnat Tashturu ba arnit daar niet arnuk morna at het no stia ak niet arnugo totostea torup hakti ne hernu ba arna at jide ardo urna atakti arnik dit jiste arnuk and na harna arnik die iva arna arut na arne it de asteuto magna atte het ornu op aiti niet arna orla na asteuto ba at arnu ook de arna aitaru u hatak niet jivra amma ate eetuk noob mag niet arnik jaru jornu arnik niet de arnik niet Verna anak ni da arnuku op arnik ni da arnik na oot na ngar. Mak arnuku o an eato da na tekja daru. Jita arnu o hat. Ek na arnu o hat na is niet arhet han knur ma ahn ent it iba arma an en ekt o. Me niet arna ornak ni iva arma atachitake nok mormak ngai teato. Je irma an ormuk ma artiato. Je arnuk ornak go op hat eet. Je eik an ad noruukta eetei. Arnuk ma arrit an ok de orbab an adachitana or eet anaki. Pare daarover om armo mai te arni ngat en armo at. So recalibration is happening. This is also for the collective, as this whole video is. That's about being able to let it go. It's about being able to let it go. And regret, is a big piece of when something happened, spilled milk, to be able to, because that regret is, we can't help it when it's there, but now, it is like it's pulling on, it's like a glue. That regret is holding that in place, and it's like a blockage to our flow. Garnu ustai gnarna kma ata arbaina arna ek ta ardiktisti na ardur jiba arna gnari ignarin to urna yaru bub arnek nastai arnek tikita da tuchna gmarnik nia jaring ta ongu urtai testing na arnik nit ja testa no taki daru kund ta jidaru hotato Nani ato rukuta itan undo urubar kuta tita jit ar makur So they're tuning us in to their frequencies, to the higher frequencies, which has a different order, it has a different geometry, where that attachment, of course, doesn't exist to this world, like to this density, to this physicality, doesn't exist. Yes. So because everything that we've been sharing, that we've been talking about, was the involuntarily having to let go, or wasting, or losing resources. It's not on purpose, and we wish it didn't happen, and of our conduct or of somebody else's conduct, where there's nothing we can do about it, and things get broken and lost and destroyed, wasted, things like that. Okay. Mm-hmm. So to come into that conscious awareness, that what it is really about is connection and life force. So what we're missing is connection and life force, because all of these things that we feel bad about having lost, and not having anymore, not having around anymore. Also, when we see forests get cut down. And this is, of course, also creating a lot of suffering. But again, if there's nothing that we can do about it, yeah, it's not of our conduct. It's not of our conduct. There's nothing direct in front of us that we can do about it now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The habituated reaction is regret, is a sinking feeling. So this is what it is. It is this sinking feeling that is where there is still that that imprint in our DNA to be devastated. So there's also a traumatic imprint in our DNA where there was devastating loss being experienced. Physical DNA, ancestral DNA. That we're holding that in ourselves. Every time this then happens in the smaller, like it's not devastating anymore. So now it's okay. We lose the nice fruit we bought, for example, or the city cuts down a tree in your street, for example. Yeah, that's a big one for me. Yeah. So when that happens, to be very present with if there is any regret, any emotion, any kind of emotion. So that is a feeling and emotion. So with the emotion, there's always that you feel it inside. It is you. So the emotion is that feeling. Why is that? Why does the emotion capture us so much? It's because that is who we are. That is what we feel toward this happening, toward this situation. And the question is, does that still have the power to pull you down? Does that have the power to lock you in, to keep you locked in, and to hold you in that regret and sadness and reaction, hold you in that emotion. Because the pull is you're being pulled out. And so as you're being pulled out and up, phasing into that higher dimension, that which cannot organically spin into and with the higher dimension, it's not connected into it because it can't. It cannot exist in that higher dimension because it's too dense, and because not just too dense, it doesn't have the geometry to fit through. It's not harmonious with the higher dimension, where such an attachment, it doesn't exist. Higher dimension, let's just say fourth now, when we're completely in fourth. There are many reasons for it, but we don't need to go into that now. Why that doesn't exist in the higher dimension. So we were saying before that the main cause of regret, of this emotional pulling down, is because you are attached to these things, or these beings of nature, these natural beings. You are attached to them, trees, nature, plants, because they mean to you well-being and connection. So some kind of life force and connection, like an aliveness. Or it means to you something that you've lost along the way, or that you gave away, or you threw it away, you gave it away because you didn't think you could carry it along. Remember the having to catch a train and not being able to take everything with you, yeah? That's exactly what is happening. To catch that train means to, you know that it's coming. The return of the Christ is coming, literally. These are the higher currents that are coming, that we are meeting them halfway, so to speak. You know, we're being pulled up into them, and they're being pulled down into us. At the same time. Because once we're in that next dimension, in the fourth dimension, because already in organic 3D, we are beginning to feel them. We're beginning to feel them. And in the organic 3D, I don't know if, I'm not sure at this point. It doesn't really matter if all the way to, if the 12th dimensional Christed currents can make it into what we call 3D physicality, or maybe if it takes a being such as Jesus Christ, such as the Buddha, you know, and many others, those kind of really high beings, to be able to hold them within 3D. So it is possible, perhaps, but is it possible within us, or do we first have to shift out of 3D into the next higher in order then to begin to be connected into the 12th dimensional? Now, here's what they're telling me. In our heart, okay, gotcha. In our hearts, we always, that love, that stillness in you know, the stillness in the mind, but it has to be in the heart. It doesn't work without the heart. It is through the heart that we always have connection into the Christed realms, into 12D, no matter what. That is the truth of it, because, and this is now wonderfully tying into your code, by the way. Now we are giving you this bridge for your code also. That even though you are still running the old geometry, the 3D geometry, the geometry of a finite system, with the reincarnation where the body dies, you still always have, through the center of your heart, the connection into the Christed realms, into the highest form giving dimension of 12D. Barnuk norma hitaka arda mangaru ba ani kitiotori atashtina to tiatanu dorma adi adanu jija arnakuta niataru ba ani diatanu ora manatiataru ba ardi iti daru ba bangdea to turmangida ta maria ta je emma arna ak norma apapeta turubani to anaria to ai jida armo arla ngoba anandoria bada aria tatadurwa magniti titata jigni arma arna ardu tatadaria tanukudoria takna aria tatoria tataaria dum obaria tatotchong ordi ngitaria to Niknaria daria takmoria tatashtikti ivina arma manana turba ta jidarma un urba wow jor mukmuma ari dida magnidar magmaria thank you for coming. We are very, very happy that you finally came again. It's been a while. Jinaruba arna nidaru tishitato orma anitiata meheve marmum orbu wishtita. Beautiful. We have been waiting for you. Yes. Always in the heart. Always. Never. That is only when you close your heart and when you're not anymore connected, feeling the inside, the core into that depth of your heart, and you are not able to feel love. That is the only time then that you feel cut off from the Christed realms, from the highest light, from your source connection. Yes. Okay. Just wanted to make that really clear. I know you want to keep it in the framework of the topic of today. Yes. So this has been a particular theme in your field about this regret over having lost things and resources. Be it of own conduct or of somebody else's. And this has been something that has been like heavy shoes, tethering, hooking you, keeping you heavy and keeping you hooked into the realm that is dissolving into the old matrix. Okay? You are coming into a new geometry, a new matrix, not in the sense of the word that you use, the matrix, like in those movies, the inverted, that you call the inverted matrix. No, because matrix in itself is a neutral word, just so you know. Or not just so you know, but just so we have said that. to be very clear, yeah. And it is our burden as well. We share that burden as we are connected to you. You are the weight on us, you could say. You are, when it's pulling you down, it is also pulling us down as we are pulling you up. because we are pulling you up naturally because we are going up as well. So there's something heavy holding us back as well. Do you think we can ascend without you? We are one being. Now we are speaking from your higher self. So naturally, we are happy when you come to tune into us, and we can, through consciousness and through frequency and vibration, support you to recalibrate yourself and to come to that inner standing, to allow yourself to be open. When milk has been spilled, whether it is your fault or it's not your fault, but it is of your conduct, or whether it is of somebody else's conduct, whether it is their fault or not their fault, the fact of the matter is, it is about something being lost, something being, lost. And it is of material and of energy value. Okay? Now, when there is that reaction of regret, that is a natural reaction when it shows up. You cannot help your reactions. But what we do want to bring you to through this session because this is a powerful transmission session, is to hold this awareness that we will elaborate on and be clear about more. To hold this awareness in your being so that you can hold whatever reaction arises as a sensation, as a reaction of your physical body, as if you had a twitch in the eye or a twitch of the muscle. That is not emotional. You feel that twitch. However, we are speaking about an emotional regret, and the reason why that feels so bad and it pulls you down and keeps you down in frequency, keeps you from expanding and from recalibrating, because it is the higher dimension that is recalibrating yourself as you are phasing into it. It is phasing into you. And it is allowing you to have a harmonious non-reaction. It is not a reaction, it is an awareness difference. So that means that it doesn't, when it is recalibrated, there is enough space, and therefore there is no emotion arising. There is but like a need for space, a need for awareness in that moment when you are witnessing such an event. And that awareness is there. And it makes the space, and it makes so much space that you will not feel any emotion. There is no reaction. There is only witnessing. And you have the knowing that this witnessing is the recalibration of reality. So when you witness a loss of something valuable, of value to you, If that pulls you down, you keep exactly that reality in which that holds that frequency where things get wasted, spilled, lost, destroyed. You hold yourself tethered into that, and as you hold yourself tethered into that, you give it energy, you power it at the same time. If you want to see a reality, for example, where no trees get cut down in your neighborhood, in your city, in the forests even, and you want to see a reality where when there are not enough trees are getting planted, and you want to make that reality more tangible and more available to everybody else, and you want to make that reality a reality, you want to bring that into manifestation, then you have to become a match to that feeling. You have to become a match to that feeling, and you have to recalibrate, and you cannot stay tethered. You cannot stay stuck in that old frequency, in that reaction, in that emotional sinking feeling. Nahaik naknush na makdavi, begdar naknush naknaavi. Jorla makita arna ishto ukura ishtayo to. Mahardit da arnukbar naknishtiyata. Yes? It is also the coming into a conscious awareness how each and every reality, even the physical one, is a dream scope. It's a dream paradigm. It's a dream matrix. Even the physical reality. It is there for consciousness to have it experience itself and grow in facets, availability of angles, complexity of consciousness and expression thereof physically. And the growth, of course, the core of it is always the heart, is always the ability to hold it all in your heart, to have compassion and love for everything. And the way into that is the way of witnessing without emotion, that sinking emotion, because that sinking emotion is what it feels sinking, because the heart is sad, it is closed, it is either sad or afraid or angry. Or yes, dislike, very, very, very big dislike, pushing away. And that is the closing of the heart. So that means the witnessing isn't possible, and the holding space isn't possible, and then it keeps you locked in. It actually keeps you locked in. So all it takes to shift the reality into abundance of that which we said before. It is the loss of connection and the loss of some kind of life force. Yes, connection and life force. Yes, something that had a meaning to you because it connected you to something in your past or to someone. And that's it. And that connection is, if you feel that as love, you want to hold on to that. or the loss of money, of those kind of resources. That only is an issue. It's like you're standing next to a spring, and the spring is just gushing. You take a cup of water and you want to drink it, and somehow you trip and you spill that cup of water, and now you're being so, oh my God, I spilled that cup of water, that would only be the reaction if you were in the desert and it was something like that. If it was precious water, if you had to pay for the water and with limitation. That regret is only when there is limitation. Because obviously we are not talking about you wasting things on purpose. You wanting to let go of something and not wanting something anymore, and that is why you let it go. That is not an issue. The issue is always a limited resources. When resources are lost, that is then an issue. When you, however, realize the infinite potential that lies within you to create heaven on earth, to pull in, to phase into, through your matching frequency, a reality of abundance of resources. On top of it, it is a dimension where resources are not needed and used the way they are in the 3D. They are not needed. For example, energy is infinite. Tap into the infinite energy. It is not being used up. It is not limited. And should it happen that a fruit perhaps goes bad before you were able to eat it, it is not an issue. It becomes compost. There will not be this financial limitation. It is not only within the system that is in place, that inverted system, that creates that limitation. First and foremost, because you can live within a limited system, within an inverted system that steals left and right our resources and our energies, because it is set up as a siphoning off system, because it has parasitical consciousness at its core. That is where it's coming from. And yet, if you, in your core, in your heart, are connected through love, loving yourself, being still in your heart, connecting with the stillness in your heart, to your source, through yourself to source of life, of all life. You can experience, even with a small, even when you don't have a bank account, you're that poor, let's say, you can experience such abundance of, what did we say it's all about? Life force, or life prana, life energy, and connection. And from that place of an abundance of life prana, life energy, and connection, love, connection, anything is possible. You can create within now we're talking again in the 3D, okay, and inverted 3D. So within the framework that your physical body is in, you can create your highest potential. But what is happening is not even all of you is in inverted and in organic 3D anymore. A whole bunch of you is already in 4D and even in 5D. There are aspects of you. And when we say you now, again, we're not talking about your higher self. We are actually talking about your individual soul that has its physical individual body and its individual subtle bodies. We're talking about that you. This you here. This us as well. Ooh. So take every time that happens, you know, we identified now 4 different ways that this can happen. Take it as an opportunity to be very aware of the most subtle, even if it's very subtle, very quiet, like let's say with the 2 nectarines that just went bad and you had to throw them away. Just notice, is there still a reaction? And just be the space for that. You know, when anything gets lost, broken, destroyed, in any of the 4 ways, in your field, in your direct experience, now having heard this, be very aware of what this is, of the field that we have opened, of consciousness, of awareness that we have opened now, to show you what this is about and what is really going on, and how to transcend it, and how to take that opportunity. Instead of allowing that once again to keep you tethered. Right. Because it is, yes, very possible you have received that information, that little sliver of information. You haven't followed it, but it is there. It just came in now. That whether there are outside forces, some kind of game masters, or other beings that you don't know who they are, but they are of the archon energy. They are of the inverted energy. They are of the parasitical consciousness that have influence into your field, so that these, maybe to make this happen more stronger, a loss of your energy, a loss of health, a loss of your resources. Yes. Well, that's, of course, everything's getting more expensive. Okay. So that effect on your field, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where it comes from. In the end, it is your DNA where that is held, that imprint, that sensation and feeling and emotion of loss is held, and therefore is a match. Therefore, when it is a match, if that is the case, which we know in the case of the of the structural, physical, socioeconomic, political, and so forth matrix, it is the case, of course, that we are being siphoned off left and right, and that is getting louder and louder. So whether that, even energetically is the case or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You are the one. Okay. Not you are the one. Maybe that's okay. Through your DNA, having the same frequency. Okay, thank you. There's just a presence that came in. The same frequency is the tuning in, is this being on the same frequency of the sharing space, and thereby you are able to be affected. You are able to be impacted upon by this Archon energy. And it is in your full power, as we have just explained, to shift out of that shared frequency into a higher frequency. And we just shared with you how to do that. And this is, take these little opportunities that show up in your life as such. They are this practice. They are a practice at the same time as they are also like clearing that out of your DNA. Because once you have held space for something, it recalibrates it and connects it back through the heart into the higher dimensions. So that the next that is hanging on to that is even denser, and the next and the next and the next and the next, it will show up, can now show up. So it doesn't mean you do it once and it's gone. It's going to show up and come back as often until it's all cleared. This is the clearing process. This is the clearing process. So know that. We want you to really know that. Because when you know it's the clearing process, it will really help you to hold space and be aware, instead of when you're asleep to it and then you stay asleep to it. So that means you're unconscious. And then when there is still some kind of emotional trigger there, that shows up, and you just fall back into that spin of the emotional trigger, and that keeps you tethered. Yeah. Wow. I love this. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much. We love you. We love you, and there's nothing that gives us more joy when you come to us and when you receive us and when you are aware that you exist as us as well. This is an aspect of you, that you exist on these, in your higher self, as your higher self as well. That we exist for you. When you recognize us, when you bring us forth, when you allow us in, when you tune into us, there is nothing greater, no greater celebration on earth for us. And that includes you. This is a celebration of life, and a celebration of love, and a celebration of the divine embodied. And this heart spin that is created through this connecting is spinning out into the world as a frequency, as a sound, as a code, And it is anyone who is watching this by osmosis, there is a transmission. And what this does is it creates that spin as another person is watching this to naturally connect with their own higher self as well. Because everything that is shared here is the same principle that applies to every other person. We want to sit in this golden column of light, this anchor. Anchoring in of source into the core, calibrating into the core, which creates full coherence within our being. Balance, anchoredness into ourselves. All the way, it anchors into the physical body. It brings in this golden light. To the soles of our feet, the tips of our fingers, the palms of our hands, to our seat, and the top of our head. To the spinal column, shining throughout our entire physical body and all of our subtle bodies. Bringing space, bringing silence, bringing peace. We love you, and we bid you source well. We bid you well to be of source. To untether and be free of the attachment, of the burdens and the heaviness, of the 3D matrix. We pray, we bestow, We feel for you that you may have all the space available and the wherewithal to tune in, to hold space for the triggered emotions that are showing you, that are showing up as emotions, and that are like tuning forks in your DNA of density and of not necessarily distortion, but heaviness that holds the 3D in place in your DNA. As you hold awareness, hold it in awareness, the reactive emotions, it makes space for the DNA to untether, to unfold, to uncoil, and to be able to recalibrate, to run the higher frequency currents and move into the process of becoming crystalline. And thereby truly manifesting heaven on earth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you everyone for watching and sharing in this energy, magnifying this energy, making it more powerful. Thank you so much, and blessed be.